All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another live community classroom with Michaels. We have our friend Tamara Kelly with us today for a super exciting class. As mentioned, it is I Love Yarn Week. So you'll be seeing us here today, Monday, and then a couple other classes next week as well. So we're so excited to have you. Today, Tamara is going to be teaching us how to make this gorgeous scarf with just one skein of Caron Cakes. My name is Renee L. from Yarn Inspirations, and I'll be helping with any questions you might have during today's class. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we'll make sure that Tamara answers them. While we're getting ready to kick things off, let us know where you're watching from, and if you've let us know where you're watching from already, tell us about the projects you're excited about for this fall. Take it away, Tamara.
All right, thanks so much, Renee. Hi, everybody. As she said, I'm Tamara from Moogly, and I am super excited to be back for another fantastic Michaels class. And this time we are working on probably the most relaxing project I've ever taught. Now, it involves ripples, which I think gives a lot of people pause, but this is a really nice, relaxing ripple pattern. And after the first row, you make the second row, and then you just repeat the second row for the entirety of the scarf. It's got really gorgeous edges all on its own, so you don't even have to make an edging. And if you've already printed out the pattern, you've seen it's so simple, it's all on one page. So I love this pattern. It's a great pattern to take with you on trips this month, to work on in between things. I've been working on the scarf as well. I haven't made a whole one yet, but I think I've got the pattern down. This is what mine looks like so far. Let me get that there in front of the camera a little bit. You can see it's just a really lovely pattern, and this has no edging on it and has a gorgeous edge to it. We'll take a closer look at that here in a minute. But we're making this pattern, which, by the way, is a one ball pattern, which I always love, with Caron Cakes. Everybody loves Caron Cakes at Michael's, right? You got to go get the new colors every year when they come out. So for this one, for demonstration today, I'm going to be using this color, which I keep forgetting the name of. Let me look at here. Red Velvet, just like the cake. You can't forget that. Gorgeous colorway there. And you can see the yarn itself has the stripes built right in. So you don't have to do any color changes for this pattern either. You can just begin crocheting and crochet until you have it the length you want or until you've run out of yarn. And of course, if you want a super scarf length, you can always just add another cake of this yarn. So let's go ahead and switch over to the hand camera and take a quick look at the pattern. Okay, are we on the hand camera? Because I think I'm getting just the one view of me. Okay, there it goes. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure we'd switched over. All righty, here we are. So here is the written pattern. You can see this is the scarf they made for the pattern itself. This was made in a different colorway called Rum Raisin, which is also super pretty. And if we can get a little bit closer here, you can see it calls for a US H8 or 5mm crochet hook. We do use a full ball of yarn for this, which is about 383 yards. Again, if you want to make it a little shorter, longer, totally up to you. Now, this does have a gauge measurement. If you match the gauge, you can see right there, you will make a scarf that is approximately 9 inches wide and 62 inches long. When I use the recommended hook size, which you can see right here, this is the H hook. Let me get myself organized here. This is a 5mm crochet hook. This one's by Susan Bates. My gauge ended up just a little bit smaller. When I measured this, this was a little bit closer to 8 inches than 9 inches. So if it was really important to me to get this 9 inches wide specifically, I'd probably want to go up to an I hook, maybe even a J. However, it's a scarf. To me, this is a perfectly lovely width, so I'm not going to worry too much about gauge. I'm just going to go ahead and make it according to the pattern. I love this width, and I know that I can make it whatever length I want it to be. So besides the yarn, of course, let's take another look at that yarn here. Now we can get a close-up. There's the one I've been working out of. You can see I've been pulling from the middle, but if you prefer to start from the outside, you can absolutely do that. Let me turn this label around here so you can get an idea. This is a 4 medium weight yarn. This particular one is 80% acrylic, 20% wool. If you need a 100% acrylic wool, there are some other great Yarn Inspirations yarns to choose from. If you're allergic to wool or something. Each skein has 383 yards. Again, whether or not you want to use the whole thing, it's kind of up to you. You can make it whatever length you like. And it does include another fantastic crochet pattern right on the label. So some great options here. Again, here is the swatch I've been making so far. You can see I haven't gotten too far in the color. These are really great big chunks of color. You're not going to have repeats of red throughout your scarf or gray or whatever your colors are unless you do add a second skein. But I really just wanted to point out these edges because If you know me, you know Mugler, I'm a stickler for my edges. I really like a nice edge on a finished product. And even though this is using the simplest turning chain for double crochets, just a chain 3, I think gives a really nice edge. I don't think this edge needs to be worked into or surrounded at all. That said, if you prefer to work an edging on it, you can. You just want to make sure you set aside enough yarn. So let's go ahead and get started making our scarf. I'm going to start with a whole fresh skein here for you. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to mention, I don't believe it's listed on the pattern, but I do recommend that you have some stitch markers. 2 of them should be plenty, but I always really like using stitch markers with patterns. I put them in the first and last stitch, well, really the first stitch of each row. We're working back and forth, and that really helps me as I come back for the next row to know exactly where to stop. So let's find the center pull of this one. You can see I haven't touched the skein other than to hold it up for you guys. Looks like there's a little bit of red there, so that's probably going to be at the beginning of our skein here, or our cake. Sometimes you have to pull out a little bit more. And like I say, if you decide you need to start at the outside, you absolutely can do that as well. Especially if we're going to run through the whole skein, it doesn't really matter. Starting in the middle with a cake is nice, simply because you can have it lay flat on the table for you. Sometimes this happens to all of us. You have to pull that chunk out of the middle. It just happens sometimes. Finding the center pull just wants to be tricky. So now that I've got this smaller one though, and kind of continue pulling the centers out until I get to that middle and just set these nicely aside. Don't love it when this happens, but it happens once in a while, right? It's happened to all of us. We've had a little bit of trouble finding the center pull. There it is. Finally found it. All right. Like I said, not a big deal. I just set these aside really nicely like that. Pull out one, then we work through the other, and then we're right back into the skein. So let me set those aside and let's begin. We're going to be starting with a chain of 33. You can see that in the instructions. I see we've got a few complete beginners right here. There should be 2 ends of the yarn. Of course, you've got the one from the middle and one from the outside. So just wanted to point that out. But I know we've got some complete beginners here, so I'm going to go as slow as I can here. Right there on our instructions, we see CH33. That stands for chain 33. So what do? We find the end of the yarn. Again, it doesn't matter if it's the inside end or the outside end, whichever one is easiest for you to find. Then we need to make what's called a slip knot. You'll notice that wasn't in the written instructions. This is the sort of thing in crochet that you kind of have to know, unfortunately. You begin most projects with a slip knot. So we take the end of our yarn, we come in several inches. I'm going to just bring it over like that. So it makes a little loop. Pull that strand behind and pull that up and through. Now that's a little bit hard to see, I know, on this yarn. This yarn is standard weight, but it's a little difficult to see. Let me pull up, oops, sorry, bumped my table there. Let me pull up a little bit thicker yarn that will be a little bit easier to see the slip knot on. Okay, again, we come in several inches from the end. Doesn't matter what kind of yarn you're using, but this one's just a little easier to see. We bring the yarn end over like that. You see how it looks a little bit like an awareness ribbon? Then we're going to bring this end underneath the loop. And then we grab this little bit and pull it up and through while holding onto these ends with our other hand. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to grab that little bit in the center. Then I'm going to grab that end and this end and pull in opposite directions. And this makes what's called a slip knot, because you can pull down on the end and adjust the size. At least I presume that's why they call it that. If I pull on both ends, the whole thing just pulls out. One of the fun things about crochet is if you make a mistake, you can always just pull it out and restart. So let me show that on this thicker yarn one more time so it's a little easier to see. We come in several inches from the end of the yarn and just lay it over itself like that to create a loop. Then we bring that cut end, or the first end, if you will, behind that loop. And then we're going to pull up on that loop with one hand while pulling down on the other ends of the yarn with our other hand. Then when we put our hook in there, and of course this yarn is way too big for this hook, but when we put our hook in there, we want the short end, the cut end, the end itself, if you will, to be in front. And we can just pull down on those to make the loop fit the size of our hook. So let me go ahead and set this one aside because this one's way too big for this project. And we can come back to our Caron cake. Here we are. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to pull that end behind, and I'm going to pull that loop in the center up and through. Now, when I was a very beginner crocheter, for some reason, the slip knot really stumped me, and I used to just tie a real loose double knot around my hook to get started. That is absolutely another option. If the slip knot is just what's stopping you, go ahead and tie a little loose knot right around your hook. Now you can see right here, there we go. If I pull up on that loop, there's a little bit of room between the knot and the hook. It's not super tight on my hook. If it is super tight on my hook, rather, I can pull down on that knot a little bit with my fingers and loosen it back up. But we want our loop on our hook as we're crocheting, as we're making a slip knot, to always be big enough that we can easily slide our hook back and forth through it. If you're struggling to pull your hook through the loop, then the loop is too tight. Okay, so we begin with our slip knot, and then we can finally begin those written instructions, CH33, meaning chain 33. So the chain is sort of the foundational stitch of crochet. So to do that, we're going to yarn over, and what that means is I'm going to hold the hook in my, I'm right-handed, so my right hand. I'm going to take the end of the yarn that's attached to the skein, and I'm going to do what's called a yarn over, which means I bring the yarn up over the hook from behind towards me. So let me do that again. Right now I just have a slip knot on it. I am anchoring this yarn down the tail end with the fingers that aren't holding the hook here. This helps stabilize the whole thing, so it's not just going back and forth across your hook as you're trying to make these stitches. We want to try and stabilize the yarn as much as we can so that it's easier to control what we're doing. Then we yarn over by bringing that yarn from behind the hook up over the hook towards us, just like that. Then we take those two loops. We've got what's called the active loop, our first loop, and then our yarn over, and we're going to use the hook end of our hook to pull the yarn over through that loop, just like that. And now we have made one chain right there. We need to do that a total of 33 times. Now the chain is just what's right here. This is an active loop. This is not a chain, that's the active loop. We don't count the loop on our hook as a stitch. This is a chain. Do you see how it looks like a little V on this side? And if we flip it over, let me pull that around. There's one more loop there on the back. So now we need to make 32 more. We do them all the same way. We yarn over and pull that loop through. Now, as you continue practicing, you can find your own way of holding your yarn. Everybody holds their yarn in their non-hook hand a little differently. I like to just drape it over one finger, but that allows me to use my rest of my fingers to stabilize, hold on to the rest of the chain, and just try and keep everything as still as I can on the hook and only move the parts of the yarn that I want to move. But as I make these chains, I bring the yarn up over the hook and pull it through. Up over the hook and pull it through. Some people actually use their hook to grab the yarn, kind of like that, and pull it through. But as long as you're going over the hook from behind towards you, and then you pull it gently through, then you're doing great. Now, if you've never crocheted before, you may want to spend some time today just practicing your chains, what we're doing right here. This is the first step of crochet, and when most of us learn, if you're just learning, you're going to want to make probably miles and miles of these things, because it's going to help you learn how to control the yarn in your hands, how to get used to moving the hook, and how to control your tension so that all your loops, all your chains, you can see here, are about the same size. When you're very first beginning, if this is the first time you've chained, I do not expect your chains to look like this. They're going to be different sizes. Some of them might seem like they're different directions. That's just part of getting used to crocheting. It's just part of the learning process. So don't let that discourage you. We all start in the exact same spot, struggling to make a row of chains. There we go. And of course, if you decide, okay, I've made some chains, they look awful, I need some more practice, but I'm running out of yarn, or I don't want to just keep crocheting for miles, then just like with the slip knot, you can just pull back on this is the end attached to the skein, and we just pull back on it. You can see those stitches just pull right out. We're left with one loop, After we pull out our stitches, we can put our hook right back in there and go right back to crocheting. So if you make mistakes in crochet, it's not like, you know, some other crafts where maybe you've used up the supplies. That's the great thing. You can just pull on that yarn and undo all the stitches that you don't want. You can go right back, pull out the slip knot, and start all over if you want to. So I've been just chaining away, but I haven't been counting. So let me go ahead and count my stitches. We've got 1, 2, 3, and I'm counting those little V's here. If I get a little closer, maybe we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. My hook's holding it down. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. You'll notice I did not count the loop on my hook. So I've got 29. I need to make 4 more. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that should be a total of 33 chains. And again, we're counting just what's off the hook, not the loop that's on the hook itself. So that's our chain 33. Before I go any further, Renee, are there any questions I can answer?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was still muted. I was wondering if we could maybe do a slip knot.
Sure.
Very quickly.
Sure, absolutely. I do want to point out too that, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is being recorded and will be up on YouTube on Monday. So if you need to come back to it, you know, if you set it aside today and you decide to pick it up again later, do not worry. You can always come back to the Michael's channel on YouTube and watch the video a little bit later. Again, I'm going to just demonstrate this on the bigger yarn just because I know it's a little easier to see on camera. We find the end of our yarn, come in several inches, and I'm just going to bring it over like that. Let me do that again. Right now it's all straight. Ooh, all right. And we just bring it over like that. I always say this looks a little bit like an awareness ribbon, okay? There's our cut end. This is the end. Whoop. This is the end that's actually still attached to our skein. We bring our cut end, our beginning end, if you will, under that loop. Okay. Now, if I were to pull this strand all the way through, you can see how that would just make a standard knot, but we don't want to pull it all the way through. We want to pull a loop of it through and not allow that end to pull all the way through there. Like I say, if you're just beginning, your chains are probably going to look a little twisted. It takes a lot of practice. You can just move on with them twisted for now, but as you go and as you crochet more, you will find that your chains do start looking a lot nicer and smoother. It just takes practice and takes time to get your hands used to making those movements. So that is the slip knot. And again, you can just pull down on that first end there to adjust the size. If you make it too small, you can pull up on it. There we go. You can pull up on it, make it a little bigger. If I pulled it all the way through, it would just simply be a knot. So we just pull on our ends and it all goes away. Let me see if I have a bigger hook. I don't. Okay, so how do we hold the hook? Let's move on to that because that was a really good question. You can hold the hook in whatever way is comfortable for you. Some people prefer to hold the hook like this, which is kind of like a knife grip. Some people prefer to hold the hook like this, which is kind of like a pencil grip. Some people use their wrist and elbow to move the hook a lot. Some people twirl their hook like this. And, you know, sometimes people use their left hand to do a lot of the work as well. It's genuinely whatever's most comfortable for you. There's no right or wrong way to hold your hook. It's just what feels better on your hand. When I'm working with thinner yarns, I prefer the pencil grip personally, but for the great big stuff like that yellow stuff you just saw, I tend to hold it like this because it puts a little less strain on my hand. I find this is good for the finer work, this is good for the bulkier work, but that's just personal preference. So you should absolutely experiment. Try a couple different holds as you're practicing your chains and see what works best for you. So I'm going to go ahead and move on here. Like I say, we've got some great resources. I know they've been dropping those in the chat. Yarn Inspirations has an excellent beginner section now with some great tutorials and things. So you can always check those out as well. But let's go ahead now and begin our first row. We start with, it says 1 DC in 4th chain, that's that CH, from hook. So that's going to count as our first 2 stitches. And so what does all that mean? Let's go ahead and count that 4th chain from the hook. Now, different people like to work into their chain in different spots. I prefer to work under that hump on the back. If we look at the top of our chain, sort of what's facing our hand, we've got those really nice V's. Underneath, we've got sort of a row of humps. We can see the V's poking out on either side. I like to work into these humps on the back. And there are a couple reasons for it. For those who do crochet and are experienced crocheters, I think you'll find that it leaves a really nice finished edge, especially for a project like this where we're not working into the edge. This is what the bottom of the scarf will look like then, rather than that. And this is what the top of all of our stitches look like. So it's just going to give it a much more symmetrical look. But if you're just beginning and it's easier for you to work into the chain in this loop or that loop or under 2 loops, genuinely, whatever works best for you. As you're learning, you will, refine your own way. You'll get used to it. I know my first few projects, I probably worked in that chain all over the place, but in the end, it was still a great project. So don't let that slow you down. So let's go ahead and we need to count the 4th chain from the hook. Now remember, the loop on the hook doesn't count. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. And right there under that loop is we're going to put a double crochet. So double crochet is another new stitch. We yarn over. We insert our hook under that loop or under whatever loop of that 4th chain you can find. Yarn over again. Pull that yarn up through that stitch. And now you can see we have 3 loops on our hook. We have the active loop, the yarn over, and the loop we just pulled up through our stitch. To finish a double crochet, we yarn over again, and we're going to pull that through just the first 2 loops. Don't worry, we're going to be making lots more of these and lots more chains. Then we yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. Now we have a new active loop on our hook. I'm going to put my hook down for just a minute, so I'm going to secure that on my finger. I'm going to grab a stitch marker. It's kind of hard to see in that pale purple. Let me grab a brighter one. Here we go. This is a crochet stitch marker. They make stitch markers for both crochet and knitting. The knitting ones often don't open. The crochet ones need to open. If it's a solid ring, it'll get stuck in your crochet project forever. It's just a difference between crochet and knitting. If you don't have stitch markers, a scrap of yarn or even an actual safety pin will absolutely work. So what I want to do is I want to mark what's going to be the first stitch of this row as we work across our scarf. This double crochet we made feels like it would be the first stitch, but those chains we skipped are actually going to count as our first stitch. This is very normal in crochet to have 3 chains, because remember we worked into the 4th one. Those 3 chains at the beginning of a row are going to count as our first double crochet. So what we want to do is put a stitch marker in the top of that chain right there. So that V right there, you can see, is at the top of our first double crochet. The V right before it is going to count as our first stitch. So I'm going to take my stitch marker and slip it under those 2 loops at the top right there. Because while we worked into the chain, we're working into that underneath hump. When we come back and work into our stitches, we're going to work under both of those top 2 loops. So let me pull that down. If you pull your loop up to set it aside, put it down, make sure it doesn't fall off the couch and undo your stitches. You can just pull it right back down after you put your hook in, just like that. Just make sure you've got a little bit of wiggle room in there to move. All right, so this is going to count. Now we've officially got 2 stitches done, and now we're going to double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So let's do that 3 more times. We yarn over, we go to the very next stitch, you can see right there, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. So now if we look at the top of our stitches, we've got a new loop, active loop there, and we've made 3 stitches. We've got those first chain 3s, a double crochet, and a double crochet. That's what they look like from the top, and that's what they look like there from the front. So that's the first of the 3 here that we need to make in this section of double crochet in the next 3. So there's 1. And then we go to the next one, we insert our hook, pull up our loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over again, insert our hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. So if we look at our instructions, we skipped the first 3 chains, we double crocheted in the 4th chain from the hook, and now we have double crocheted in each of the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, and 3. Then, if you're following along with the written instructions, you'll see there's an asterisk. The asterisk means that that's where we're going to begin a repeat. A repeat meaning we're going to follow the same set of instructions several times across our row. If we look at the little sample I have here, you can kind of see what I mean. We're going to do the same set of things a few times across this scarf. So beginning with the asterisk, it says skip the next 2 chains and double crochet in each of the next 4 chains. There's more after that, but let's tackle this part first. To skip the next 2 chains, we go into skip 1, 2, and find that 3rd one right there. If I turn it from the side, I think it's a little bit easier to see. Then we double crochet in each of the next 4 chains. So we yarn over, go into that one after the 2. Remember, we skipped those 2. And then we're making another double crochet, just as we did before. I'll do that a little slower here on the next one. You can see I'm just continuing to pull up some yarn from that first little bit, and it's getting smaller and smaller as we go, but it's just pulling out really nicely. Well, it was until I messed with it to show you. There we go. All righty. So now we need, it's double crochet in each of the next 4. So there's 1. We find the next chain, we yarn over, go into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. And then we do it again. Yarn over, find the next stitch, insert our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. We can see when we skip the stitches, that created a little bit of a break. You can see in the finished scarf what that's going to look like right there. So it's very easy to see. We're supposed to do 4. We've got 1, 2, 3. We need 1 more. So we yarn over, find the next stitch, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Now this is a big jump up from the chains. Like I said, if this is your first time crocheting, this might seem like a lot, but as you practice and get used to holding the yarn and the hook, it will get easier. So we have double crocheted in each of the next 4 chains. The next instruction says chain 2. So this is just like the chains we were making down here. One of the great things about crochet is with just one active loop, we can make whatever stitch we want next. Of course, right now we're following our pattern, so we're going to chain 2. So to do that, we do it just like the chains that we made before. We yarn over and pull that loop through. There's 1. Yarn over and pull that loop through. That's 2. So then we go back to our instructions, and it says 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 chains. So now we yarn over and find the next chain and do all that again. Insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. So you can start to see that ripple shape now appearing in our stitches. By skipping the stitches, we get it to fold up this way. By adding chains but not skipping stitches, it's going to be sort of the hill rather than the valley. So that's the first one of those 4. So now we need 3 more. We yarn over, go right into that next stitch, yarn over and pull up our loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Let me get a little bit closer for the next one. We want to yarn over, find the very next stitch, insert our hook, yarn over and pull that loop up through the stitch, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over again and pull through the last 2 loops. There we go. Let's do again. That's 3 there. 1, 2, 3. We've got 1 more. Yarn over, find the next stitch. And if you get confused, if it's getting twisted, you can always lay it out. on the table or, a little desk or your lap if you need to. A book is good, something nice and hard. And just make sure, try and straighten out your chain as best you can. And then when you feel better about where you are, you can pick it back up. And that will hopefully help you find that very next stitch. So I've got my yarn over already on my hook. I insert my hook in the next stitch, yarn over again, pull up my loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. There we are. So now we need to go back to our instructions, and it simply says rep from asterisk once more. So what does that mean? Rep is short for repeat, and the asterisk, remember, is where we know we begin that set of instructions again. So that means we start back at that asterisk and follow all those instructions one more time. So let's go back to the asterisk, and the next thing it says to do, the first thing it says to do, is to skip 2 chains. So let's go back here to our chains and skip 1 and 2. So I just like to put my thumb on that third one so I know where I'm going for my next stitch. And then I double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So we yarn over, insert our hook right in that third stitch there. Remember, we want to skip the 2 in between. Yarn over and pull up our loop. We've got 3 loops on our hook. We yarn over and pull through the first 2, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2. Yarn over, go to the next stitch, yarn over and pull up our loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. I need to pull up a little bit more yarn here for my skein. There we go. Yarn over, go to the next stitch, and make your double crochet. There we are. Now this pattern is available for free on yarnspirations.com. I know they've dropped it in the chat, but if you're watching a recording later, you can find it on Yarnspirations. It is the Caron Crochet Waves Scarf. Alrighty, so there we have it again. Now we've done those 4 double crochets. We go back to our instructions and it says chain 2. So just like we chained before, we yarn over and pull that loop through. There's 1 chain. Yarn over and pull our loop through. That's 2 chains. Then we double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So we yarn over, find the next stitch, insert our hook, yarn over and pull up our loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over again and go right to the next stitch. Well, now we're almost at the end of our first row here, which is good because we're almost at the end of this repeat or rep. There's 1 more double crochet, and then I need 1 more to make 4 here. You can see we've got 3. You can kind of pull them apart and see the posts is what we call sort of the bodies of the stitches here. Up at the top, we've got the top 2 loops, but these are the posts of the stitches. So if you're having trouble, you can always kind of pull your stitches apart, see the daylight in between them, and count how many stitches you've made. You can also, just like when we counted our chains, always count the V's there on top. All right, so now we've finished that repeat a second time, and there's a few more instructions that lets us finish off our row. We go back to our instructions, and they say to skip the next 2 chains, 1 and 2, and then double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So let's do that. We'll skip these 2, 1, 2, find that third one, go right in there. So there's 1 double crochet. It's always easier to get that first one in a little bit quicker for me. Let me get that a little bit slower now. We yarn over, insert our hook in the next stitch, yarn over and pull up our loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. 1 more, yarn over and go into the next stitch. There we go. So now you can see after that last skipping of 2 stitches, we've worked in the next 3 stitches. We've got 1 chain left right here by the slip knot. This is typically the hardest chain to get into. It just tends to be a little bit tighter. This can be a real struggle when you're first beginning, and it can be a little bit of a struggle even when you've been crocheting for a while if you just accidentally made that first one a little too tight. So take your time with it. You can try and open it up a little bit if you need to, just kind of by pulling down on it. But don't be upset if it frustrates you a little bit getting into that very last chain. For whatever reason, physics, I guess, it just tends to be a little bit smaller. It always likes to close up on us. But when we get to this very last chain, if you look at the instructions, it says 2DC in last CH. That's 2 double crochets in the last chain. So that is sort of like what we did at the beginning, where we skipped those first 3 and then double crocheted. You can see how that kind of made an angle. Down here at the end, when we put 2 double crochets in that last one, that's going to give us our straight edge. So this is also known as an increase. So we're going to yarn over, go into that very last chain, yarn over and pull up our loop, and finish our first double crochet in that stitch. And then we can go right back in that same exact chain or stitch and with another double crochet. We yarn over, same place we worked the last one. Make our double crochet. And now we have finished row 1. If we lay it out on the table here, you can see, let me get that centered there, we're really creating that ripple shape. We've got 4 double crochets in between those those increase and decrease sections there, where we're making our hills and valleys. And the extra stitch on each end, if you will, because you notice it's kind of like 5 there and 5 there, will give us our really straight edges. So that's the end of row 1. Row 2 is going to be the row that we repeat. There's that rep again for the whole rest of our scarf. So before I move on to row 2, Renee, are there any more questions I can ask? Or answer rather. Probably not even good if I ask the questions, huh?
No questions, but someone pointed out, hang on, sorry. Oh goodness. Oh, okay. Wanda said, working through the back of the stitch is a light bulb moment for me. I've always worked through the front and would get lost. So thank you.
Oh, good. I'm so glad it helps. Yeah, I think it's a little bit easier to see, especially when beginning. And now we can see, now that I've finished that first row, it gives a really nice finished edge. I think when you work under the top 2 loops, which is probably the standard way and certainly the way I was taught, you've got just that 1 loop then hanging on the bottom, and it just doesn't look as nice. It doesn't look as finished. And if you do go back and work a border where you go all the way around and you might be working into the bottoms of these stitches, then the other way, if you work under the top 2 loops when you work into the chain, and then you put your border under just that 1 loop for whatever reason, and I don't understand the physics of it, but the border always seems a little gappier. So that's a little tip for those who've been crocheting for a little while. All righty, so let's go ahead. And somebody has a great question. Thank you, Kyla. Any tips on how to keep the correct tension on the yarn to have consistent sizes? This is a lot of what I was talking about with practicing your chains. It's just getting used to that motion. When it starts feeling really natural, that's when, your chains are going to start being the same size. I really like to keep a tight control on my yarn. Now, some people like to wind their yarn sort of all between their fingers, and they'll have a lot of tension that way. I find just over my first finger is fine because I can put my first finger and middle finger, I guess, together to create, a tight seal there if I really need it to not move. But I also use all the other fingers on my hands. You can kind of see as I'm working down this row, I'm holding on to that row with these fingers that I'm not using on my hook. I think that's one of the reasons I do like holding my hook this way, especially for the first couple rows. It allows me to completely stabilize the rest of that row. So this could be the chain, it could be the row, whatever I'm working into. And then, of course, I've got what we call the tension controlled here, which is the size of the loop. And then I also use the other fingers of this hand. I will hold on to the bottom of that stitch. You can see when I do that, I have a lot of control over what I'm doing with the yarn. Now, this didn't come naturally. It didn't come, right away for me. Again, this took practice, getting used to being able to control the yarn like this. So, and then too, a lot of it is just feeling and getting used to using the hook and feeling what it feels like to sort of pull those stitches through, and what feels good in your hand. Some people make really loose open stitches. Some people make really tight stitches. And that is just the function of how they're using their individual hands. It's not right or wrong. It's just the nature of a handmade item. So if you find that you're using the hook size called for in the pattern and all your stitches are just super tight and you're having a hard time getting into everything, try using a bigger hook. I think that would probably solve a lot of the problems. If you find that your beginning chain is always too tight for you to work into, but then your later rows are fine, try working your beginner chain in just a little bit bigger hook. That can be a big help as well. But other than that, it's just a matter of practicing and kind of getting used to holding the things with your hands so you can control that tension as best you can. I wish I had a quick, do exactly this and it'll always be perfect tip, but alas, it just takes practice. So let's go ahead and begin row 2 here, our second row, which again, we're going to repeat through the whole scarf. You can go to the 62 inches as called for in the pattern, or you can just keep going if you want to make it longer, or you can stop earlier if you're making it for somebody who maybe doesn't want as much length. To begin row 2, we start with a chain 3 that's going to count as our first double crochet. So if you're following along with the instructions, that's that CH3, chain 3, and then in parentheses it says counts as double crochet. So let's go ahead and chain 3. I'm going to yarn over and pull that loop through. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now, a little trick I like to do here. I know, because I just read the instructions, that this chain 3 is going to count as my first double crochet of the row. So I'm going to grab, and we haven't turned yet. I know it says to turn at the end of the row, but I like to do my chaining before I turn. I'll get to that in just a moment. I'm going to grab another stitch marker here, and I'm going to put it under the top 2 loops of that very last chain I made. I missed one of those loops. Let me try that again. There we go, under the top 2 loops of that very last chain that I made. Remember this right here over my finger? That's our active loop that goes back on the hook. But by doing this now, this is really nicely marked, and when I come back to work into this row for the third row, I will know that this is the last stitch of our row. So now I'm going to put my hook back in here, and now that I've done my first double crochet, also known as a turning chain because we chain and then we turn. And that's all there is to turning. Let me lay this out so I can show you guys really clearly. When we turn our work, we need to work back into these stitches. But if we're right-handed, we're working this way. If we're left-handed, we're working this way. So we need to turn so we can get back into these. I am right-handed, so when I turn my work, I try to always turn it just like turning the page of a book, this way. Now I'm all lined up to work back into my stitches. If you're left-handed, you'll be going this way across, and when it's time to turn your work, you want to kind of go back in the book, go back a page. The main thing is to be consistent. If you always turn it the same direction, then your edges are going to be really nice. If you go back and forth, turning it different ways, then your edges will become twisted. So let's get ourselves all straightened out. I've got my active loop right there. I need to put my hook back in it. I need to pull down on my yarn and see, oh, do you see, let me get that a little closer here so you can see. When I pull back down on the yarn right here attached to the skein, the part that's pulling down is behind my hook. I want to flip that loop around so that now when I pull down on the yarn attached to the skein, the part that moves is in front of my hook. That way, it will keep, again, from twisting. Then I turn, which means we turn our page, just like so. And now to help control my tension, I can hold on to this little tail end. I can use the fingers of this hand to hold on to my row. I can use these fingers there to sort of control the yarn. What we want to do is work 1 double crochet in the first double crochet. So now we're working into stitches rather than the chain. We're going to be working under both of these top 2 loops of each stitch. And we want to look, there's the top 2 loops of that last stitch we made. So we're going to yarn over because it's a double crochet and insert our hook in that space right between, or right underneath rather, those top 2 loops. You can kind of see how there's a little dark spot right there, a little hole, if you will. That right there is where we want to stick our hook. And if we look, let me pull that out of the way a little bit here. Whoop. I've got my hook under the top 2 loops of the stitch below. So now I've got my yarn over, or excuse me, my active loop, my yarn over, and I'm in the stitch. I'm going to yarn over again and pull that loop up through the stitch. And now I'm back to the 3 loops on my hook. We finish it the exact same way we finished all our other double crochets. We yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2, right there. So if you're following along on the written instructions, right here, we're right at the beginning of our second row. We have put 1 double crochet in the first double crochet. So next we're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets. So we yarn over, find that next stitch right there. And if I hold it out, can you see those little spots right there? Each of those little spots, kind of where you can see the loop kind of dives in, that little cave, if you will, that's where we put our hook to work into those stitches. So, got my yarn over. I'm going to find the next stitch, pull it up nice and close right there. I'm going to put my hook right in that dark spot, and I can look at the top and see it under both of those loops. So then I can yarn over, pull my loop up and through. I always like to give it a little wiggle, sort of straighten everything out. Yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. Again, just like we've been doing. Then we need a double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. There we are, 1 and 2. Alrighty, so if we go back to our pattern, we've got our chain 3, our double crochet in the first stitch, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Then we begin the asterisk section, the repeat, for this row. We skip the next 2 stitches, and I want you to look at what 2 stitches we're skipping, because this is going to help you when you've made a few rows and you want to take this project on the road with you, or you want to turn on the TV and watch some Netflix. We're skipping this stitch and this stitch. Do you see how they're on either side of those chains that we skipped before? Just like we skipped those chains, now we're going to skip over those 2 stitches. So I'm going to yarn over because I know it's going to be a double crochet because that's all besides chains that we're making now. We skip those 2 stitches and go into the stitch after that. And of course, there's 1. We need to work our way back towards here. Go into the next stitch. So that was skip the next 2. Now we're single crochet, or excuse me, double crocheting into each of the next 3. If you're following along with the written instructions. There we go. So if we come back here to our written instructions, we just skipped 2 double crochets and then worked 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets. And then we've got something, a little section here that is in parentheses. If I pull it a little closer, it'll be a little easier to see, I think, here. You can see the parentheses right there where it says 1DC, chain 2, 1DC in next chain 2 space. Having that in the parentheses means that we're doing all those things in one spot. After the parentheses, it tells us where that spot is. So what does that mean? 1 double crochet, chain 2, 1 double crochet in the next chain 2 space. You can see right there, we've got 2 chains. So we're going to work all these things into the space underneath those chains. When we worked our first row, we were working into the chains. Love this. Now we get to work into just that space. It's so much easier. So we yarn over, insert our hook right into that space, right underneath that whole set of chains there. Oops. Yarn over and pull up our loop and finish our double crochet just as we've been doing all along. Then we chain 2. Yarn over, there's 1. Yarn over and pull through, there's 2. Then we want to put another double crochet right back in that same chain space. There we are. And now you can see how that sort of mimics in looks what was happening below. So you're going to be lining up your where you skip to and then where you work extra sort of into that space. Those are all going to line up. So now what we're going to do is we need to double crochet sort of back down our hill here. So it says double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets. Here's 1 and 2 and 3. There we are. I'm going to pull up a little bit more yarn here. Then we need to skip the next 2 because we need to look at our first row and see where we're at. You see how those are the other ones on either side of that gap? We want to skip those and come to the next one. So there's 1, 2, 3, and that will bring you back to that chain 2 space. What do we do when we get to a chain 2 space? We work a double crochet right into that space, followed by another chain 2, 1, 2, and double crochet right in that space again. Then we need to work our way sort of back down the hill to the valley here. I always think of ripples as hills and valleys. So there's 1, 2. I know I'm doing these a little bit faster. I apologize. We're running out of time. So I just want to make sure we can get through this row here. There's our 3rd one. And now we need to look and see, where are we? We're at another one of those gaps. So we know we want to skip those 2, the 2 stitches on either side, so we can create another gap. Come to the next stitch, double crochet in that one. The next stitch gets a double crochet. The next stitch gets a double crochet. And now, let me finish this one. There we are. Put just a little bit more yarn. I'm coming to the end of that first little bit that came out of my cake, so I need to straighten it out a little bit. There we go. Now I'm at the end of this row, but I've got one more stitch. This is where having that stitch marker is super handy. Not only do I know I've got one more stitch, I'm in the right spot, but you can see by putting it under those top 2 loops of the chain, it makes it a little bit easier to get right in that exact same spot with my hook. That's where I want to put my hook. Now that we're into our rows and not working into the first row, we're into the rest of the scarf. We want to go into those top 2 loops. In that last stitch though, that last top of that chain 3, we're going to work 2 double crochets. Just like we did in the first row, we want to end with 2 stitches in the last stitch. So we put 1 double crochet in there. And if the stitch marker is in the way, you can take it out. I'm going to take it out after the first one here. So there's 1. I'm going to go ahead and move that stitch mark out of the way. And then I will put a same one right back in that same spot. Now that I've got 1 in there, it's nice and open, a whole lot easier to get my hook in there. Oops. Well, it was until I fumbled. There we go. Yarn over, insert your hook, and finish your double crochet. So that is how you make the second row. And you can see we're lining up whenever we're skipping stitches. Right there, you can see those are lined up on top of each other. When we work into and sort of create those peaks to our mountains, right there, we're working into those chain spaces, another valley, another peak, another valley, and then we finish it up. If we go back to the swatch here, you can see it's just like the first row we made, and then the second row, and then all the rows after are exactly like row 2. We've got just a few minutes left, so let's see how far we can get with starting row 3 together. I'm going to start again with a chain 3. So 1, I yarn over and pull through for 1, yarn over and pull through for 2, yarn over and pull through for 3. Then I like to, when I need to put my hook down, is put my active loop over my finger so it doesn't accidentally pull through, because I've shown how you can just pull out all your stitches when you don't want to pull them out. Stitch markers can help hold that loop open as well. But for now, I just want to put it under those top 2 loops of that last chain I made, like so. I'll go ahead and close that up. Put my hook right back in my loop. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn. Remember, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to turn like I'm turning the page of a book. The same way every time. Then I yarn over and I find that first stitch right there. You can see the daylight poking out from underneath. That's right where we want to put our hook, under those top 2 loops, and make a double crochet. Then we're right back down to the pattern, and you can continue following the written instructions for row 2, or we can kind of follow the pattern of the previous row, like I was discussing a little bit towards the end of row 2. We double crochet in each stitch until we get to one of these valleys. So let's see, just kind of take a moment every time as you're working a row to see what the previous row, where you're at. Okay, now I stop and look. Oh, where am I? I'm right back at another gap there. I can tell this is the valley of our ripple. So I know I want to skip the 2 stitches on either side. Then, so I skip those 2 and go to the next one. Then I double crochet again until I get to that chain 2 peak of our mountain here. You can see now we've gotten right back to that chain 2. What do we do when we get to a chain 2? We work a double crochet, another chain 2, 1, 2, and another double crochet right back in that same space to create or continue the peak of our mountain there. Then we work our way back down the hill towards the valley. So there's 1, 2, 3. And then that brings us right back to that valley again. So we want to make sure to skip the stitches on either side and head back up the hill again. 1, 2, and 3. That brings us to that chain 2 space. Every time we get to a chain 2, we do the same thing, double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet right back in the same space. Work our way back down. We can look at our work here and see we've got just one more valley to go. Double crochet in each of those stitches until we get to the one right before. You can kind of remember after these special moves of skipping, or there's going to be basically 4 stitches in each little section, just like we had in row 1. You can kind of see here, there's 4 stitches there, there's 4 stitches there, 4 stitches there, and then of course 5 on the ends. So now we've done 4 again. We can see we're back at our valley. So we want to skip the stitches on either side and work our way back up to that end of the row here. So if you'll remember, we do 3 when we get to the end here. And then that very last stitch where I've got my stitch marker, which is really the top of the chain 3, that's where we put our last 2 stitches. Oop. Like I say, if the stitch marker gets in the way, you can take it out. I usually like to leave it in for the first one if I can. Then I'll go ahead and take it out and set it aside and work the same stitch in there again. There we are. So that was a pretty quick one, I know, but I wanted to demonstrate one more row so you can see we just keep building on that same stitch pattern that we have been using throughout. So before we do finish up, Renee, are there any last minute questions I can answer?
All good, I think.
Okay, great. So once again, if you need to look up this pattern a little later, this is the Caron Crochet Waves Scarf. You can find that for free on yarnspirations.com. This video will be on YouTube to follow along with. Here it is in the original rum raisin. We have been using this lovely skein of red velvet. I remembered it this time. There we are. One last thing I do want to show for the complete beginners we have with us today, and thank you so much for joining us. Somebody just asked, how do we finish it off when you're all done? Great question. Perfect timing. You can see here I've got that active loop from the last stitch I made. We're going to pretend this is a beautiful full-length scarf and I'm all done, but I've got a little bit of yarn left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn. You can see I left a good 4 to 6 inches there. Doesn't have to be exact. Don't break out a ruler, just eyeball it. And then to secure your end, you can do this with your hook or you can just do it with your fingers. We're just going to pull that end through our last loop. Just, let me see, let me get a little closer because once I do it, it's done. But we pull that through and it's nice and secure. So the very last thing you'll want to do after you've got that, nothing's going to come undone. It's all nice and secure, but you need to take care of these ends. So the one other supply I forgot to mention, I apologize for that, is you'll want to get yourself a yarn needle. You'll see it looks just like a standard needle for sewing, but it's a whole lot bigger so that we can make sure to get our yarn in there. So we put our yarn on our needle like so. Both the ends, we do one at a time. And then you do what's called weaving in your ends. So you're just going to take your yarn needle and try and kind of basically hide the yarn inside your stitches. You want to go a couple, oops, let me get centered again there. Sorry about that. So you can see I'm just pulling it through those stitches. If you've changed colors, say if you're on gray and you had some red or pink or whatever it was, you want to try and sew it in on the same color stitches. That's really helpful to help hide it, but you want to make sure to turn and go a couple different directions. That will really help lock in your ends. So after you've woven in a bit, and you feel like it's going to stay nice and tight, I would weave in a bit more than this normally, but for the sake of time, I'm going to just go ahead and trim that off close to our scarf. There we are. And that's how we take care of the ends. So thank you for bearing with me for an extra minute or so there. We can go ahead and come back to the other camera. I just want to thank you for joining me today. There will be lots more great I Love Yarn Day classes coming up, I'm sure. I'll be back Sunday with another one myself. And I hope you have a fantastic I Love Yarn Day and I Love Yarn Week. Thanks, everybody.
Amazing. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. As Tamara just mentioned, and we mentioned at the top, I Love Yarn Day is tomorrow. So we are celebrating all week. Tamara has a class on Monday. We're going to be going over the 3-hour throw in Bernat Blanket Big. And then you can join us also on the 17th for Granny Squares for beginners. We love to see your work, so don't forget to share and use hashtag Make It with Michaels and hashtag Yarnspo. That's YARNSPO, because we love to see your work. You make our job so fun to see all the amazing things that you're working on. And just a reminder that you can find more classes on michaels.com, and the recording of today's class will be on YouTube on the Michaels channel on Monday. All right, thanks, y'all. Happy Yarn Day, or happy I Love Yarn Day. Happy weekend. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.